Coping with COVID and In It Together present Wellness Wednesday, brought to you by the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina and DHEC's Division of Diabetes and Heart Disease Management.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Happy Wednesday. That means it's Wellness Wednesday. In It Together SC and the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor, and today we're going to talk about how your health affects your vision. Simply put, everything you eat, everything you drink, everything you do affects everything you eat, everything you drink, and everything you do, including your eyes. Dr. Anika Goodwin with Opulence Beauty joins us later. But first, endocrinologist Dr. Usa Lily Vivat talks about his passion for helping people on the road to better health. Dr. Lily Vivat, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it's my pleasure. I'm honored to be here.
Well, we'll come right back and talk to you more about vision health coming up next on Coping with COVID. But first, your COVID community updates. Forecasters are watching Elsa. The tropical storm has landed in Florida and will push through to Georgia and South Carolina, bringing heavy rain tonight and tomorrow. Now, we should expect to see strong winds and rain in the state after about 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock tonight. Check your local news stations for more information on how Tropical Storm Elsa will affect you. The push to vaccinate is becoming even stronger as doctors warn about the COVID variants. Now, doctors say the current vaccine is effective, but the symptoms are more cold and flu-like, including coughing, sneezing, and runny nose, causing many to think they only have a cold and not the COVID virus. Now, you're encouraged to get a test regardless of the symptoms and to get vaccinated, because the longer people wait, the greater the risk of the virus getting worse. Of course, throughout the show, we will have, scrolling at the bottom of the screen, several locations for you to get screenings, for you to get tested, and also for you to get the COVID vaccine in your area. Finally, the dates for the tax-free weekend in South Carolina have been announced. August 6th through 8th, shoppers will be able to purchase school supplies, clothing, and other items in preparation for back to school. Now, the discounts apply online and for in-person purchases. For more information, visit the Department of Revenue website. And we've got that information for you right there. We've got another slide for that. All right. SCDHEC has your most up-to-date list of times, dates, and locations for COVID testings, vaccines, and flu shots in and around South Carolina. Please visit scdhec.gov for more information. Also, Kroger pharmacies are offering the COVID vaccine. Check the screen for details about that. In addition to CVS and Target stores, all of the Target stores that have CVS will also bring you and give you a COVID vaccination. Now, if you are a senior or a little technologically challenged, Get Set Up is giving free online classes for seniors who need some help making their COVID vaccination appointment. Visit Get Set Up for more information. Don't miss your shot. You can get free rides from the Comet bus system. Also, they will also offer free vaccinations at the main location at the corner of Sumter and Laurel Streets in South Carolina. So again, don't miss your shot. Catch the Comet to get free rides to get your vaccine, and you can also get a vaccination at the Comet bus system. If you know someone who passed away due to COVID, FEMA is still offering their COVID funeral home expenses. So please, you see that information on the screen also. Bill assistance programs are still taking applications from Richland County SC.gov. Also, Dominion Energy and SC Housing have a bill payment assistance. You can find that information also on the Dominion Energy website and also from SC Housing. Open enrollment for the ACA Affordable Care Act is going on through August 15th. Not only if you have already gotten your health insurance, you should log back in to see if there are additional benefits and additional subsidies for you. Also, the South Carolina Department of Mental Health launched SC Hopes to help people cope with COVID. And there is also a statewide summer feeding program eligible for school-age kids, regardless of where they attend. Finally, Grace Christian Church is offering a for men only COVID vaccination clinic. That is happening this Saturday. You can stop by Grace Christian Fellowship Center and find out all about that. They are offering the Pfizer vaccination at Grace Christian Church. And you can go and not only get your first, but you can also get your second shot. Both of those are available. I'm Tre Tailor, and you're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. Hey, SC, we are In It Together, SC, and the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. And we are actually streaming live on the In It Together Facebook page. So please go over there and visit that for such great information that they post throughout the week on a diabetes prevention program. You can check it out on the In It Together website and also on their Facebook page. Now, we're also streaming live on the TaylorMade production page. That's the home of Coping with COVID. Please go over there and hit like and follow and share so you can not only watch Coping with COVID Wednesday through Friday at 2 p.m., but also first Monday with a comedian, George Wallace. You can also get all of your COVID-related updates. Now, we're also streaming live on YouTube. Want to say hi to all of you YouTubers. Thank you so much for joining us. And we also have a presence on Instagram and also on Twitter too. Today, we are talking about eye health. Dr. Usa Lilivivat is a passionate physician who advocates for those with pre-existing healthcare conditions like diabetes, heart disease, and high blood pressure. He wants to help them focus on their total health. Dr. Lilivivat, thank you so much again for joining us today on Coping with COVID. We appreciate all the work that you're doing, to help folks with a pre-existing conditions. Now, tell me, why first is it a problem? An extra problem for people who have pre-existing conditions. How does that affect their eyes even more so than someone else?
Yeah, people who have pre-existing conditions, there's so many things that have gone on with their body, their metabolism that had been smoldering for a long period of time. And people did not realize that those are the things already started. And for example, by diabetes, and we have about 30 million people in the country that have diabetes, but we have another 85 to 86 million people that have what we call pre-diabetes. And 9 out of 10 of people who have pre-diabetes did not realize they have it. They walk around, have no symptom, but yet the body metabolism already starting. There's what so-called insulin resistant. The body not using the insulin, unable to use the insulin. Therefore, it's causing the body to start changing, smoldering, starting as early as that time. And if we don't stop it, eventually by the time we start having problem, like the car, every part is already broken. Now, when it breaks down, it doesn't break down one part. It breaks down many, many parts all at the same time. And that's very hard to fix.
Yeah, we're talking to Dr. Lilivivat about eye care with people with pre-existing conditions. Now, is it pretty much the same, Dr. Lilivivat, for those who have diabetes, blood pressure, and heart disease? Is it that particular group of folks?
Yes, they are kind of intermingled together. The diabetes itself, with the high blood sugar level, the sugar molecule react to the protein in our blood vessel, especially the eye. When it hit the eye, it also hit the kidney because those are called so-called small blood vessel. When it does the kidney eye, they usually go together. So how come, oh, my kidney going bad, I have to go on dialysis, but at the same time, the eye going bad and going blind. I say, oh my God, why has it happened like that? Then people say, okay, we got problem with a heart disease. You have a heart attack, has a stroke. So when things happen sometime like that, then everything fall apart, basically. So what we need to do, we need to recognize this condition, treat it as early as possible so that we don't have to suffer like this.
Right. I want to say hi to everyone watching. Barbara Bowman says, she said she's tuned in. She said, this is truly a topic of interest. She said, especially for her, she said, because eye health has been a challenge. She said, recent cataract procedure. She says, but she realizes that this too is inherited from a parent. She said, but it was very challenging waiting due to COVID last year. But what a difference a year in surgery has made. Hey, Barbara, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your comment. And I want to encourage everyone to please post and share this information out, because I think we all know someone with heart disease, diabetes, blood pressure. And I'm just not sure, Dr. Lila Vivat, as much as it's talked about, that people really understand how all of this takes an effect on every part of your body. I mean, we're talking about your eyes today, but it really affects every
Yes.
part of your body.
Right, right. The whole part about what we started with, we begin to understand more now. Diabetes, we have two different type of diabetes. Type 1, where the body rejecting their own beta cell, the pancreas not producing insulin because the body mistakenly producing antibody against our own pancreas, our own beta cell. So it destroy that part that we cannot produce insulin. Now, on the other hand, the type 2 diabetes, which is 90% of the people with diabetes population, type 2, it occurs from the fact that we start having insulin resistance. Now, what's causing insulin resistance? A lot of things going on with that. Now, of course, genetic part of it, but we cannot blame on genetic. It is a genetic and the environmental factor that marry together, because with genetically we have some weakness in our body, but then the environmental factor throw that thing in, such as, for example, all the fast food, all the sugar and all the thing we consume, and then it really affecting us, and we did not realize that. Now
Yeah.
the ladies are asking about the cataract, for example. People with diabetes, cataract is causing by a number of different things. For example, we go out and see the ultraviolet light. The ultraviolet hit our lens. It make our lens cloudy, hardening. But people with diabetes, guess what? We are more prone to get cataract than people who doesn't have diabetes. And then so those kind of things, that people with diabetes, they get more glaucoma than people who doesn't have diabetes. So diabetes is really the risk factor. Now why? Because the sugar molecule, it's in our body. When the sugar get a little higher for a day or so, we don't feel that. But over a year and year and year, guess what? The sugar react to the protein in the body. That particular chemical reaction we call glycosylation or glycation. So when it glycated, that sugar molecule affecting the protein. For example, our blood cell, we have a hemoglobin. When the sugar react to the hemoglobin, it make that called hemoglobin A1C. On the other hand, when the sugar molecule react to the protein in a blood vessel wall, the eyes, kidney, the nerve, everywhere in our body, from head to toe,
Hmm.
even hair follicle until our toenail,
Oh,
is
wow.
it bombarded with sugar molecule. That sugar too high and it glycated. It's a chemical reaction. This is what happened. People did not realize that that's what
Yeah.
happened.
In It Together, SC and the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. Today, we're talking about vision and eye health with endocrinologist Dr. Lila Vivat. Dr. Vivat, you have a recent study, some results of a recent study that you want to share with us. If we can get those slides up. Tell us about this study.
Yeah, this is a study from N. Haynes. It started way back many years ago. And then what happened is the National Institute of Health had gone out and survey people and looking for people who are, how did they live? What their lifestyle? They're checking their health, checking the blood pressure, the weight, and all that. And that including everything. We're checking the kidney, the heart, and the eye. And what we found that when they look in the eye, testing the people with the eye disease, and it's scary number. And if we can show that on the first slide, we can see that. So on that one, and the next slide, and the next slide, where we see that the number, this is my introduction slide, okay? Now this slide, what did that show? It say people who aged 40 and 64, they got so many thousand in a number that in a thousand range, if it actually in a thousand more than that. Okay, and this can we go back to the previous slide? And so what happened is that this particular event, that people older are more prone to get a little bit for the younger person. Okay, can we go to, yeah, that's good. That's a good slide. Now the thing that we scare the most is say there's a disparity between among our population. If we look at the number of a non-Hispanic white, okay, the number, of course, you got more population there, 2,500,000 people that had eye problem was at 26.4%. But we look at non-Hispanic black, even though it's 1,000 in that thousand, but it's 38.8%. So the percentage is much higher in the non-Hispanic black. The percentage of the Mexican American also higher, 34%. Now, if you look at other, it's a little lower. So what when they do the calculation, the statistical calculation, there's definitely disparity between the non-Hispanic black as well as the Mexican American. They have more eye problem than the others. So why? That's the
I was
question
going to
we need.
ask, why is
Yeah,
that? Is that something
right.
genetic, or is that how people in those demographics eat? What's the issue?
There, there, there could be it's genetic, but it's not all genetic because the way of living, how we live, how we eat, whether do we exercise, how what we doing? We smoke more than the other. I mean, these are the questions we need to answer that, and then the scientists will have to find out what is really going on. Why? Now, if you go to the next slide that tell us and say these are the people who are actually threatened to go blind.
Mm.
Whoa, that's scary. If you see that the number on the third column on the right side, you see the first, second, third column. You can see that the people who non-Hispanic white, 3.2%. When you go to non-Hispanic black, 9.3%. That means non-Hispanic black stand a chance get blind three more times. 9.3% versus 3.2. Mexican American 7.3%, much more higher than others. So this is really scary. You need to answer say why. Is it genetic, the way we live, or whether they don't have access to health care? That's another question. All right. So these are the things that we need to answer that. Okay. Now, if
Right.
you go to the next slide, you see that show you this is a picture of the retina, and you can see the blood vessel. There are a
Now, is this a
few those.
normal retina we're looking at, Dr. Lily
No,
Big
that's really not normal. It looked not too bad, right? But you can see that some of the spot, the red spot, the little bit tiny bleeding spot that we call pre-proliferative retinopathy. Now, people with this kind of retina have absolutely no symptom. You never know until you have your eye exam,
Well,
and
let's
that's a
stop there for a
scary
second
part.
and find out. So, what are some of the symptoms of having retinopathy? What are some of the symptoms?
All right, the symptom basically none. I've
Uh,
seen that so many people have no symptom, and by the time they have symptom, I'll give you an example. Go to the next slide. All right. So this next slide say, "Hey, doctor, I kind of see some blurry vision here." Now, when you look at that. That picture tell you a lot more stuff. You see that the little white stuff there? That's a is a fat particle. See when there's a bleeding inside the eye, the body trying to remove the blood, and what it left, it's a scar tissue. It
oh my
left
goodness.
with the fat deposit in there. Then those people start having the eye trouble. Say, I don't see well, can't read well, the blurring. Okay, now next go on the next slide, and we can see that the next slide you see all different stages, right? On the middle one, that's a normal retina. On the left hand side, you see all the bleeding. It bleeding pop. People have no idea. The first time they see the eye doctor, they show up that way. On the left hand side, the figure B right there. That's dangerous because they readily gonna go blind. And then
Mm.
on the number C that you see all those things that the scar tissues and all that thing, that coming from the scar from sometime from the laser treatment. You think that we think that laser treatment can help us, right? Yes, it will stop the bleeding, but it put a lot of scar in our retina.
And
Okay.
then when you have that scarring, that too can affect your vision, correct?
Oh yes, yeah, the scar. That means the retina, that part of retina literally scar and die. That you don't have any
Mm.
retinal cell anymore to pick up the image. You go to the next slide there. All right. And the next slide, you see the middle part is it looks like a normal retina. It's a blood vessel right there. You got a little bit like almost a moon right there. It's called optic disc. That's where the nerve trap take the image of the eye going back to the brain. Now on the other picture, you should look at that. On the left hand side, you see all the blood vessels all tangled, it are
Mm-hmm.
ready to rupture and pop and bleeding.
Oh,
See on the
wow.
right hand, yeah, on the right hand side, same thing. You see all those blood vessels like a spider vessel. People have no symptom when you have that unless you didn't have the eye examination. Those spider vessel is very dangerous because it can pop and bleed, especially the blood pressure shoot up. You may want to go to the bathroom, have a constipation one day and strain, and the blood pressure will pop and
Oh
cause
my
bleeding.
God.
And that's kind of thing that we only know if we start monitor, have the eye checked regularly. Okay, let's go to the next slide there. And then the next slide, you see that there's another thing that show you say that arrow kind of say they're called proliferative retinopathy. What is that proliferative? It's the blood vessel that are growing haphazardly. See, when the retina having some problem and not getting oxygen supply. See what happened? Diabetes affecting the blood vessel. So make the blood vessel wall thick, make the blood vessel wall vulnerable, and then the eye don't have the retina. So by nature, the eye will start to say, hey, we need more oxygen. So it stimulate. There's a growth factor make the blood vessel grow. It stimulate the blood vessel regrow. As a reaction, we don't see that by nature say, hey, we don't have oxygen. Why don't we grow more blood vessel, bring oxygen in? Guess what? Yes, you can bring out more oxygen in, but the way how the blood vessel grow is not growing normally. It grows
Oh.
haphazardly. That's what we call proliferative retinopathy. That's a dangerous.
So
Okay,
that's really doing more harm. Your
more
own
harm.
eye is producing
Correct.
something to help it, but that's really more harm than good.
They do more harm. Yes, because all these blood vessels are very brittle. They break easily. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. And then say, this is the way how the eye doctor, the retinal specialist would treat you. So when they see that, they would put the little lens on top of your cornea. After they numb your eye, then they use this laser beam going in at cauterize, basically cauterize the retina to prevent these the blood vessel from growing haphazardly. Now they don't have to be careful. They don't shoot the laser right onto the blood vessel. We're gonna put the hole in the blood vessel and it causes bleeding, but they're going to shoot the laser around it, kind of more or less help sealing. Then this blood vessel growth, we're going to start to regress. It start to goes away. And next slide, you saw that. The next slide, you see that. Look at all the dots. What are these dots? These are the dots that are from the laser burn.
That's the laser. Yeah.
That's a laser. So these laser burn, what it does that it took away the growth of the blood vessel, and you see that there's a normal blood vessel left behind it. That's the way how the laser treatment works. All
But
right.
Dr. Lila Vivat, so after someone has had this type of laser treatment, what is the how will they be okay? I mean, what's the statistics? What's the probability that their vision will, or at least eyes, will return back to some type of normalcy? And how much normalcy is that?
Okay. So when the laser burn is the retina, what it does that is like it is a concept of supply, supply and demand. When the eye demand more oxygen, so how do you make the eye say, "Hey, demand less oxygen"? So the laser literally kill the retinal cell away, reduce the retina, so they would demand less oxygen. When you demand less oxygen, all those growth of blood vessel will start regressing. See, this is the demand and supply theory, but actually in reality, not good, because what happened is that we sacrifice the peripheral vision. So we kill the good retina on the periphery. So you lose some of your peripheral vision in order to preserve the central vision, which is the area where we call the fovea. That's where you
Right.
focus. That's the most important part. We want to preserve that. That's a
So
drawback to laser. All
right. So
right.
you're saying you'll lose your peripheral vision, but you'll still be able to salvage, the vision kind of seeing straight ahead.
Correct. That's correct. Now the new treatment coming out, you could go next slide. You see that the next slide, it showed that you see this is the picture which showed that the periphery, the surrounding the retina. Look at all those scar tissue. When there is a scar tissue, there's a pigment, the dark pigment, the white stuff. But what happened? The central part that we preserve. Okay,
Mhm.
this is what the whole thing about the
So
laser
let me ask you
treatment.
this: for something like this, this eye, we're just talking about this eye in particular. How far gone has this? Do you have to go? Not diagnosing, not having symptoms, not getting treated before your eye gets to this point.
Oh yeah, it's gone a lot. It very a lot. Unfortunately, I seen patient who I asked them say when we look in the eye, we see that there's so advanced the retinopathy. I asked them say, how long you had the eye problem? Oh, doctor, maybe about couple months. My eye blurred for couple months. That's all, couple months? No, in fact, the eye problem been going on for years, and people did not realize it. So this is why we need to have an early detection if possible. Now, the new treatment is really fascinating. The new treatment, the eye doctor will actually inject the medication in the eye. Now,
Oh
what is
boy.
that medication? That medication is called VEGF. It's a it is a antibody to stop the growth factor in the eye. It is vascular endothelial growth factor. You see, there's a vascular endothelial growth factor that make the blood vessel grow haphazardly. So they were able to design the medication, which is the monoclonal antibody, that actually attack that VEGF, that vascular endothelial growth factor. So when you stop that growth factor, guess what? Those blood vessels that grow haphazardly, it start to regress. So that is a new treatment, which is really nice because you don't need to have laser. So you don't need to have laser, but the eye doctor will look at the eye and say, okay, you can use that medicine. The other
Right.
one say, no, you have to have a laser. The retinal specialist will advise you what to do.
Right,
Okay,
because you
now,
have to be, I guess, early stages to use
oh,
the
that's at the
injection
early
as
stages.
opposed to the laser,
Correct.
correct?
As early as possible. Now, sometimes it gets so late stage. You go to the next slide. So when the retina it gets so bad, now this is the picture would show that you inject the medication in there. That's an anti-VEGF treatment. So that medication injected in the eye that helping the blood vessel to grow. Now, in a late stage, sometimes they have to go in. We call vitrectomy. What they do? There's so much scar inside the eye. They have to go inside the eye, and they look have a little tiny knife that actually cutting all the scar tissue out and pull them out. So and then they put the bubble in there. So the eye doctor will put the bubble in there to hold the retina in place like a splint. It's amazing the technology that the retinal specialist can do. It's amazing. But nevertheless, we need to detect that as early as possible so that we can treat the metabolic problem so that we don't get now. In the next slide, you can see that there's a study where it's called a DCCC study. You can see that the slide would show that there's a two group, the A1C, the monitor for 10 years. One group that had high A1C, the other group have low A1C. Guess what happening? So after 10 years, all right. The group that had high A1C feel like, oh yeah, they have a study done to bring the A1C down, so they are behaving themselves, so they got the A1C down. Now the other group, they have a good A1C done, and then after the study done for 10 years, the doctor say, okay, we're study done. You can go home and come back. We'll check you once a year. But
Mhm.
most people get slack a little bit, so the A1C creep up a little bit. So the two group end up the same. And during that time, will continue to follow. The study continue to follow called ADIC study. Follow them for another 10 year, 15 year, and including their court study. So next slide we can see that with the people that had a better control from the beginning, the group that are lower A1C group actually have much less eye problem later on. And it
Right,
did show that, yeah, so therefore we need to start early. We need to
right.
so
We're talking to Dr. Lila Vivat. He is
yeah.
a local in South Carolina endocrinologist, and we're talking about eye health. He's been showing us some fascinating information about a study, first of all, that talked about the disparities as far as vision and eye health is according to age, race, and demographic. And then, of course, he was showing us what happens when your eyes are so damaged, the injection process, the laser process. In It Together SD and the Diabetes Advisory Council present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor. Dr. Lila Vivat, Michelle had a question. I wanted to get her question out and some more questions as we continue to go through these slides. She wanted to know, is all of the damage damage occurring simply because of uncontrolled blood sugar?
Yes, that's a main part of the uncontrolled blood sugar. The second thing is high blood pressure. Uncontrolled high blood pressure also play very important part of that. So these two are very important factor that are intertwined together. So that's what we need to look at it. All right. And
So
then
let me ask you this. I know we've got a couple of more slides, and I definitely want to get you your slides because this is so fascinating. But I just kind of want to talk about how people can. I mean, because if you're not getting your yearly checkup, and is that what you suggest? People with these conditions, high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, they need to get checked more than annually, or just
more,
annually?
yes. Well, when they have a check it initially, after they have when they're diagnosed to have diabetes type 2, they need to have it checked right away.
Mm-hmm.
And people who have type 1 diabetes, we know exactly what date it started. That within 4 or 5 years, they need to have it checked. Once they have it checked, they should check it yearly, annually. And then if there's something wrong, they need to check it more frequently. The eye doctor will say you might do it every 6 months, every 3 months, so that
Right.
we can prevent that. Now, for people who are pregnant, for pregnancy, we are to check it every trimester. So they should not just say, okay, you come in, you're pregnant, you have diabetes. We need to check your eye right now. And we're going to check it every 3 months, every trimester. Make sure that they're okay, because during the pregnancy, sometimes the retinopathy can really go bad rapidly. That's why my last slide really show you that really we need to promote the annual checkup for people with diabetes, annual eye exam at least. Then the eye doctor tell you, okay, you need to come more often. Maybe you're doing so good. On a rare occasion, they may say, all right, you can come back in 2 years on some exception on that, on a type 2 diabetes who are very stable. But most people would need an annual checkup. And
But
that's the guideline that.
what about for those folks? Because you're saying if you are diagnosed with pre-diabetes or diabetes, what about folks who do have high blood pressure? Or is that the same thing? When you
Same
are
thing.
diagnosed with having high blood pressure, you too need to get your vision checked yearly?
Yearly, yes, because the high blood pressure can cause the hypertensive, we call hypertensive retinopathy. That the picture of those eye disease are a little bit different than the diabetic retinopathy. Sometimes they are overlap, they mingle together, but just that high blood pressure alone can cause hypertensive retinopathy. So very important to have that check.
We're talking to Dr. Lila Vivat. He is a local endocrinologist, and we've been talking about how your health, your physical health, in particular, heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, affects your visual health. And he's been showing us some fascinating information. Dr. Lila Vivat, I want to know, so does this play any differently if you have some of these conditions and you also wear glasses or contacts? Does that matter?
Oh yes, yes, yes. So for example, obviously, with people who have a myopia, people who have a short eyesight, the eye globes that grow differently, and wearing glasses, and now we actually myself suffering from watching this computer, all this blue light and all
Yes,
that.
yeah.
Whoa, there's a lot of new research you gotta kind of come on, So a lot of time we start having the eye get tired, cheering and all that coming because we get so much of this light coming in. That's why when I go outside, I want to make sure I wear the ultraviolet uh, eyeglasses, ultraviolet to shield the ultraviolet off of my eye, and make sure we eat healthy
Right.
because there are a lot of antioxidants that we're not consuming. Those are the ones that actually prevent our eye from getting bombarded with all the but bad metabolic stuff. And that's a lot of things too, a lot of research going on. But eating healthy would not hurt anybody. It actually would
Right.
help. Yeah. So, and then we need to have all the antioxidant, all the vitamin A that we can have, and that will help our eyesight.
So you mentioned the glasses, and I've heard people talk a little bit about these ultraviolet glasses. Tell us about that. How does that help your eyes in relation to your physical health. And where do you get these miracle glasses from, Dr. Lila Vivat?
Well, yeah, you see, so the ultraviolet, it really, like, when we got radiation from ultraviolet, it irradiated some of these molecule inside, because unfortunately you see that the our lens in our eye is made with protein. So when the sugar high, it affecting the pressure of the eye. Sometimes the eye pressure high, sometimes, and the sugar molecule embedded into the protein and then creating some chemical reaction. And then when you try the ultraviolet in that, it usually promoting some of this chemical reaction, which is bad. We need to stop that ultraviolet. So that's what's going on.
So and so how is that hurting? How is that hurting your eyes?
The ultraviolet and actually make the lens hard, and people would actually get cataract easily. The cataract prematurely. So a lot of cataract, usually as you get older, we got too much ultraviolet, we get cataract. But if we got diabetes, so the cataract becoming more premature, then the circulation of the fluid in our eye, instead of circulated freely, it does not circulate freely, end up building up the pressure, and it causes what we call glaucoma. And glaucoma can actually increase the pressure in the eye, and then it destroy the retina. And glaucoma, by the time some eye doctor told me, say, people with glaucoma have no symptom. By the time they got symptom, they say the eye could not see well, they almost go blind, because it's too late to correct that. Yes.
Wow. We're talking to Dr. Lila Vivat about eye health here on Coping with COVID, and It Together SC and the Diabetes Advisory Council present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday. Dr. Lila Vivat, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back and talk to you a little bit more about what people need to do to help prevent them from having the cataracts and they have to have laser surgery and have somebody shooting something in their eye. We're going to talk a little bit about diabetes prevention and also diabetes care in rural areas. Okay, we'll be right back with more from Dr. Lila Vivat. I'm Tre Tailor. You're watching Coping with COVID, brought to you by It Together SC and the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina. We'll be right back.
You can eat what's good to you and good for you, too.
Yes.
Get the Dash for Southern Soul Cookbook free. All you have to do is ask. It's packed with delicious Southern-style recipes with a healthy twist.
Yummy.
You won't be able to taste the difference, but you will be able to feel the difference.
Yeah.
Inbox your email address to the In It Together or TaylorMade Productions Facebook page, and you'll get it straight to your mailbox. The Dash for Southern Style Cookbook and a Coping with COVID face mask. From In It Together SC, the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina, and Coping with COVID.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
The Comet gives me a reliable source of transportation.
It's very convenient to me, and they have wonderful drivers.
It's clean, and it builds community. It's fun to meet people.
It makes me feel like really independent. It's just fun.
It's always going to be there, and it gets me everywhere I need to go.
We try to ride every single day. Comedy is our livelihood.
Let Palmetto Painting Services take the worry out of your next home painting. Let Palmetto Painting Services take the worry out of your next home painting project. We can paint anything. Our business is about interior painting and exterior painting. We offer services for residential and commercial properties. Restore the life to your home with a fresh coat of paint from Palmetto Painting Services. References are available upon request. Give us a call at 803-546-4570 today.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday lives. But when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow? Won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821.
Visit Davis Tax Service today, 803-419-1001.
In it together, SC and the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, don't forget that we are streaming live on the In It Together Facebook page. Go over there for all kind of great information about diabetes prevention programs, tips, and information and advice and more. We're also streaming live on the Tailor Made Production page on Facebook. Please go over there, hit like, follow, share, join us on YouTube, on Instagram, and also on Twitter. And please continue to post and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses, because we are sharing some important information about diabetes, about heart disease, and also about high blood pressure. We are joined by endocrinologist Dr. Lila Vivat. He joins us today. And Dr. Lila Vivat, thank you again so much for joining us, because you have shared some great information today about how your health affects your vision. And I just don't think, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, that we grasp that it really happens. Now, you talked about early detection, that people really should be getting their annual eye exams. But I want to ask a little bit about, because you say there are no symptoms. I mean, what about headaches, flashes of light? None of that happens before you get to a stage where maybe you need you need to go and get something done?
That's right. Yes. Hey, by the time we have flashing a light, that's a symptom of the retinal detachment.
Wow.
Whoa, that's a really late stage, So we really need to care about ourselves. We need to learn how to prevent that. How to prevent? Okay, people with diabetes got to make sure diabetes is under well control. So they need to really follow, talk to the doctor, say, make sure they got the hemoglobin A1C control. They need to learn how to check their own blood sugar. Some people might get to wear a sensor. So they all kind of things that they have to think about how to get diabetes better control. They need to have the blood pressure well controlled, because that's another factor that can actually make the diabetic retinopathy worse if you have high blood pressure. Blood pressure have to be well controlled. That means they have to eat healthy. They have to have cut back on the salt intake. They should not have salt intake more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium a day.
Yeah.
But on the average American, we're consuming up to 6,000 to 8,000 milligrams of sodium a day. Whoa, that really not good.
Is there anything, Dr. Lila Vivat, that you, even if you are, because listen, a little bit of everything has so much salt in it. I mean, no matter what you eat, there's hidden salts and hidden sugars. But let me ask you this. Is there anything you can do if you're not counting calories, if you're not really looking at labels and stuff like that? For instance, does drinking more water help flush your system out? We've heard that.
Yeah, if your kidney is still functioning well, you would be able to do that.
If your kidneys are still functioning well.
Right. But if sometimes people already the kidney is weakening, I have some patients say, "Doctor, can I drink more water?" No, your kidney already is so weak. If you drink more water, you would not excrete it out. You end up with swelling. You see, the swelling is that mean the heart is weakened, the heart not pumping the fluid out. So when the doctor say no, you could not drink too much water. You see, that's a late state.
Right.
The early state, of course, you drink more water is good. And what we need to do, we need to stop the inflammation in our body. It's an inflammation. We learned so much from the COVID. The COVID is causing the body to have this inflammation, the inflammatory factors such as interleukin 6, TNF alpha. What does that stand for? Tumor necrotic factor. It's a dirty word, tumor necrotic factor. What is that causing? When people have cancer producing all these factors, tumor necrotic factor. COVID virus causing that. This causing inflammation. So when a patient have this called cytokine, what is cytokine? It's one of them called interleukin 6. These are the chemicals that the scientists discover. So it is a marker of the inflammation in the body. Now, people with metabolic syndrome, people who are overweight, people who doesn't exercise, not eating healthy, they have this smoldering cytokine in the bloodstream. Now, people with COVID, when they got hit by COVID, they have this cytokine storm. when they have surge of these cytokine in the bloodstream, that's when they crash. That's when they die, unfortunately. Now, what we have learned that in the metabolic syndrome, we have these smoldering factor going on. We eating food that are not healthy. One of the things that people are not aware, they call AGE. Now, what's an AGE stand for? Not age, it is an advanced glycosylate end product. Where that coming from? Coming from the food that we overcook. If we grill the food, grill and make it dark. I used to say, when the restaurant comes with a blackened fish, whoa, it tastes so good. They got so much blackened fish. I said no more because it blackened, it high heat cooking, it create a lot of AGE, advanced glycation end product. Don't do that because those are the things that can actually, the studies show that actually promoting the retinopathy as well, besides causing cardiovascular disease.
Well, I want to get into that a little bit more, but I want to acknowledge, Johanna, I see your question. I'm going to ask Dr. Lila Vivat your question in just a minute. But I want to get this straight, Dr. Lila Vivat. Are you saying that we shouldn't grill because when I was eating fish, I love a blackened salmon. I don't eat fish anymore. But so you're saying that we shouldn't blacken or grill our food?
No.
Really?
Yes, because
it's a good thing you didn't say that before the 4th of July because people were grilling that. So no more grilled hot dogs, y'all.
Yeah, no, exactly. High heat cooking not good for us, okay? Because it generates, it's called advanced glycation end product. Now, what's the best way to cook? Steam, because steam is only the degree go to 100 Celsius, and then the water will boil into steam. It would never go above that. So you have a lot less AGE. And that's the healthiest food that you can do, the steaming, not heat it so high. And then time of cooking also make this AGE very high. So Dr. Velasova from Mount Sinai, New York, she showed her slide that actually showed that one of those crispy skin, we have that barbecue pork and all that. So crispy Peking duck. Anybody who love Peking duck, you found it, the skin is so crispy. Oh, wow. When she showed that slide, it loaded with AGE. I say, oh my God.
And AGE does what exactly, Dr. Lila Vivat?
Okay, AGE is an advanced glycosylate end product. It what we call it, it tackle our body. So it tackle our cells, it tackles many things in our body. Okay, it causes cancer in the long run. Ooh, it causes heart disease. It causes inflammation. Our body trying to react to it. Not good. We need to learn about it. You see, there's a research at MUSC. They're talking about the AGE also. So this is the thing we need to bring it up in the open. We need to learn more about that.
Yes. Like I said, because you have just changed the game for the rest of the summer. No more cookouts or no more grilling. Anyway, so there's no way. I just want to get this straight. There's no way, even if you're grilling vegetables.
Yeah, even you grill vegetable, because you change all the molecule to advanced glycation end product.
Wow.
So you're better off steaming it. Steam your vegetable. Right.
Wow. All right.
So,
Johanna Bridget,
I used to cook, I used to cook the
Michelle
vegetables.
Says we need to have steam out. Thank you, Michelle. Let me ask this question, Dr. Lila Vivat, from Johanna. And thank you, Johanna, for joining us. She says her vision took a drastic change after she turned 44. She says she has gritty eyes in the morning and slow correction later on. Any suggestions?
Oh, wow. So that she makes sure she sleep well. Wow. Sleeping is very important. You see our circulation, we have arterial, the heart pumping blood to the aorta, right? Red blood, right? So that blood supply our organ, and then it return back to our body with called venous system. Now we also have another system called lymphatic system.
Mm-hmm.
The lymphatic system is a lymph gland. It trap. Let's say people have cancer, the lymph gland will trap that cancer from traveling. So basically stop that bad traffic. Now, our brain has a system called glymphatic. What is that glymphatic? It's coming from clear cell. So our brain cells composed of the neuron, which is we're thinking all that thing work for us, the neuron. But there's another cell called clear cell. This glymphatic system, it helps us, our brain, to clear it up and dump out the bad stuff. Okay? Like we flush the toilets every day, right? So
You
our
should.
brain,
You should.
our brain, same thing, have to flush out the bad stuff. Guess what?
Okay.
The glymphatic system only work when we sleep. Whoa. See, I used to be, when I was in college, I compete, try to get into college in med school. I stay up, study. And on my mind say, sleeping is waste of time. Oh, no.
Right.
I was wrong. You have to sleep. Have to make sure you sleep well.
So are you thinking that she's not getting enough sleep? Maybe that's why her eyes are gritty in the morning?
Could be one of the factors you can look into. I myself discovered that I did not sleep well enough. Why? Because I snore. My wife
So you're
complained.
waking yourself up.
I
Sleep
have a
apnea.
test done. Sleep apnea. I got sleep apnea. So ever since I have that CPAP mask, I was a lot better. I wake up a lot more energetic.
Yeah. Thank you, Johanna, for your question. So, Dr. Lilavivette, are you suggesting that even our poor sleep habits affect our vision also?
Yes. I talked to my eye doctor colleague. They told me same thing. They say, hey, your eye telling you you're not sleeping well.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, look, Dr. Lilavivette, Michelle Harris, who works at DHEC, that booked you for the show, and you really got to come back because, first of all, you have canceled summer. You said no more cookouts. You're not canceling summer. And I mean, you just have some other fascinating information. I mean, I think we hear, obviously, you need to get your rest. Sleep is important, particularly as you get older. But who knew, not me, that your sleeping even affects your eye, your vision?
That's right.
That's
Correct.
fascinating.
Yes. And then it also affecting our brain, our cognitive function will deteriorate if we don't sleep well. The Harvard Health is talking about 5 things. You got to sleep well, eat healthy, got to exercise. Exercise also help the brain cell. All right. People who exercise, they don't lose their memory. All right. You got to challenge your brain, got to keep working. That's why I don't retire. My patient asked me. And number 5, keep the spirit up. Very important. 5 things we got to do.
Give us the 5 once again. Number 1.
Okay. Sleep well.
Sleep well. And that means at least 8 hours, right?
At least 8 hours. Depends. Some people require 7, some people 8, some people, they got to sleep, deep sleep also. Sleep well. Number 2, eat healthy.
Eat healthy.
Yeah.
How many chocolate chip cookies can I have?
and that's a lot of HGE.
I don't eat meat, Dr. Lilavivette. I don't eat meat and I don't drink soda. I only drink water. So how many chocolate chip cookies can I have in place of that?
We need to do a little study on that one too.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And then
number 3.
Number 3, exercise. Whoa, exercise, very important. Now there are 2 types of exercise now. Some people go out to the gym and get the muscle workout. That's good. That keep your stamina well. But aerobic exercise very important. Aerobic exercise help our cardiovascular, and then deep breathing exercise. I just found out about that. The deep breathing exercise help promoting our autonomic nervous system health. That's very important because as part of that, the other question say, hey, why did the eye? See our eye? We have the tear gland. It's controlled by the autonomic nervous system. You see, so when the baby cry, the tear coming out, that coming from the parasympathetic nervous system that make the tear gland make this tear for us, right? So sympathetic is the other way. Sympathetic nervous system make our pupil dilated, and parasympathetic make it constricted. So these are the things that autonomic, we take it for granted. We never exercise that part. How do you exercise that part? Deep breathing exercise.
Deep breathing. So that's just as important as physical exercise.
Important as physical exercise.
All right. Number 4.
Number 4, challenge our brain, right?
Right.
Yes, got to keep on working.
So
All right.
reading, doing puzzles, stuff like that.
Yes, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
what
number 5, keep
number
the
5?
spirit up. Keep the spirit
Keep
up.
your spirit up.
Oh, yes. Very important.
And that could mean going to church, just being happy,
Be happy.
take stress away from your life.
Correct. Yes. And that requires a lot of your heart too.
It does. Yeah.
Oh,
It does.
your
It
heart
does.
will help your brain.
Yeah.
Mm.
Dr. Lila Vivat, thank you so much for joining us today. You have just been such a pleasure, and I really would love to get you back. I want to talk to you about diabetes prevention in rural areas. I want to talk to you about being a part of the Diabetes Advisory Council and more. But you have really given us some fascinating information about health, how it affects our eyes, and some other information. So you gave us more that we bargained for, so we appreciate you so much for all.
Thank you. I appreciate that have an opportunity to share with everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Lila Vivat is an endocrinologist here in Columbia, South Carolina. If people want more information, are you still accepting patients, Dr. Lila Vivat?
Oh, yes. But I building up the team, so they are helping me. So I'm hoping that I can teach my team to help everybody.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Well, contact Dr. Lila Vivat. You're here in Columbia, South Carolina, correct?
Sumter, South Carolina. Yes.
Sumter. You're in Sumter, South Carolina. All right.
Right.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lila Vivat. We appreciate your time and your expertise and invite you anytime. You're welcome to come back on Coping with COVID. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. So listen, that was amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. In It Together SC and the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. Listen, if you have a story or initiative that could help someone cope with COVID, please go over to the Tailor Made Production page on Facebook and inbox us. We would love to have your story featured on Coping with COVID. If you have a product or service that could help someone cope with COVID, please email copingwithtreitailor@gmail.com. We would love for you to be a proud sponsor, just like In It Together SC, the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, also the Comet Bus System, Javis Tax Services, Agape Counseling and Training Center, Palmetto Painting Services, and our brand new sponsor is the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office, Byron Gibson. Speaking of that, he will join us tomorrow for our first monthly series, No Justice, No Peace. Attorney Byron Gibson will answer our questions about what's going on as far as the solicitor's office, up and coming cases, crimes in our area. It's going to be so good. And I'm looking forward to Byron taking the commitment to come and talk to us live each and every Thursday. It's No Justice, KNOW, No Justice, No Peace, with Attorney Byron Gibson with the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office, Richland and Kershaw County. It begins tomorrow and every second Thursday right here on Coping with COVID. Before I leave you, I'm going to leave you with a reading from Jesus Calling. As always, Jesus says today on July 7th, trust me in all of your thoughts. I know that some thoughts are unconscious or semi-conscious, but I do not hold you responsible for those. That is so good, because I had some thoughts yesterday. But you can direct conscious thoughts much more than you realize. Practice thinking in certain ways, trusting me, thanking me, and those thoughts become more natural. Reject negative or sinful thoughts as soon as you become aware of them. Don't try to hide them from me, Jesus says. Confess and leave them with me. Go on your way lightheartedly. That was number 5 that Dr. Lila Vivat said. Just be lighthearted. This method of controlling your thoughts will keep your mind in my presence, Jesus says, and your feet on the path of peace. That's your Jesus Calling for today, Wednesday, July 7th. My name is Tre Tailor. Thank you again so much for joining us on Coping with COVID. Like I said, next Thursday, tomorrow, we start with Byron Gibson. And then next Wednesday on Wellness Wednesday, we're going to talk about back health and scoliosis. So continue to join us once again. In It Together SC and the Diabetes Advisory Council present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor. Until the next time, I wish you peace and abundant blessings. Take care, stay well, get your vaccination, and still wear your mask over your nose and under your chin. See you later.
Coping with COVID and In It Together present Wellness Wednesday, brought to you by the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina and DHEC's Division of Diabetes and Heart Disease Management.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.